you ever used a gender swap AI app before or filter on social media? I'll hold my hands up and be the first person to say yes, I have. The amount of times I've used that mustache filter on Instagram, particularly in my early days of coming out as non-binary, trying to figure out where I fit in femininity, androgyny, and masculinity, I used that filter so much. And these apps allow trans and non-binary individuals to see themselves for who they are, and it can offer a glimpse into the possible future. For many trans people, these apps or filters offer a sense of validation, of affirmation, and they can be really vital to somebody's gender journey. Seeing yourself potentially aligning with a gender identity or expression that you are wishing to achieve can be so euphoric, and for some trans individuals that is the only way they are able to affirm their identity, because maybe they're not out yet, maybe they don't have the funds to transition, maybe they don't even want to transition, or they don't even know that they want to transition, and they're using these apps and filters as a way to test the waters. But of course there is a flip side. Not only is AI environmentally damaging and has caused such distress amongst queer, femme-presenting and women communities with their images being used and themselves being undressed on social media, as we have seen with the whole Grok and Elon Musk and X situation. These apps and these filters also create unrealistic expectations, particularly for trans and non-binary individuals. They don't account for age, hormone therapy effects, or the financial implications of transitioning. So if a young individual or an older individual uses one of these apps and thinks, wow, that's amazing, I'm going to look just like that when I transition, that's not the case. There are many other elements that come into play when we talk about medically transitioning and reaching our kind of gender goal. AI generated images aren't reflections of reality for everyone, and specifically they don't reflect realistic expectations. So for example, if you are an older trans woman who has already gone through puberty, when you start to medically transition, there may be things that you can't achieve because you have already gone through some form or all forms of puberty. Into account that not everyone will be able to achieve the look that this AI generated image has portrayed, and perhaps they may even spend their whole lives trying to reach that destination of what that AI generated image has presented to them, but that's not, it's never going to happen, unfortunately, for them. In some cases, of course, it might happen. However, that's not the case for everybody. And as someone who has used AI gender swap features in the past to explore my own gender identity, I personally went into it knowing that I didn't want to go on testosterone, knowing that I didn't want to grow facial hair. However, those AI generated images with a moustache, with a beard, did make me kind of mourn what could have been if I had been born AMAB, and that's something that we don't take into account either, is the feelings afterwards, when perhaps we realise that it's not achievable, or it's not what we want, or we can't financially afford it. So the big question is, are these forms of AI, these gender swap apps and filters, are they harmful to the community, or are they beneficial? As always, it really depends on personal experience. Some individuals, it will be a tool of hope, something that they can look towards for inspiration. Others, it can be a source of pressure of, this is what I should look like because AI has determined that I am masculine or male or feminine or female in this image, so I have to achieve this to be seen by society as this gender identity. And what we're not talking enough about is how impactful it can be personally on us, particularly as queer and trans individuals who are using these sorts of AI gender swap filters and apps as a way to find ourselves and figure ourselves out, because we're actually not being given realistic expectations for what we may be able to achieve in reality. I'd like to know, have you ever tried a gender swap app or filter? If so, how did it make you feel? And if you have medically transitioned or have socially transitioned since using one of those apps or filters, how do you feel now looking back at it? Hi, I'm Dee, my pronouns are they, them. I'm a multi-award winning sex educator, content creator, author, and sexual health outreach worker. You can find me on TikTok at Sex Theory with D, Instagram at Sex Theory with D, here on YouTube, as well as over on my Substack, D Myth, where I release weekly blogs covering anything, everything from sex education, my personal sexual and gender experiences, trans news, and anything that really kind of sparks interest for me.